Italia!
We're good.
Buongiorno and good morning, good evening, hello everyone. Welcome to Milanista 360. We've been away for a little while. We're going to be catching up on quite a lot of games. We're joined today by the mighty Shane O'Mac from Malaga and Husni from his royal palace in Malaysia. So let's get on with it, guys. We've got a lot of to cover. So let's um, unfortunately hit the ground running with the mighty Milan derby.
Mm.
And let's do up. I will say something. At the time, I remember very clearly saying, "I want Pioli out." After that game, that was my Pioli out game. That was it for me. I wanted the guy destroyed for setting us up in exactly the right way that Inter loved. I don't know if you got any stats or anything, Shane, to share with us, or yeah,
All right.
this is
Yeah,
painful.
this is really hard. It's really hard to look at. We had to cover it, and it's kind of one of those great responses to trauma that you get,
Yeah,
that you just kind of freeze up and forget what to say.
I'm
This was
gonna joke and
absolutely
I'm gonna
awful.
say we lost because of the wind speed.
Yeah,
It was just a
yeah,
little bit too slow, you know.
right.
Um, there's nothing to say
Husni,
for me.
what did you think of the game, Husni? And here's the
Uh,
catch: I only want positive things.
yeah, well, as you guys said before we started the stream, that the only positive is that the game finished. And yeah, but other than that, it's a perfectly winnable game. That I don't know why we keep losing, why we have such difficulty. There were moments at the start, and you guys have to admit this, is that we had them, the feeling that they were pinned in the half. But as with
The
the
first
break,
thought was at 4 or 5 minutes we were unbeatable.
So Pioli
yeah,
said,
Yeah.
yeah, and we
So
started strong. I mean, there's no about that. It's that we always complain when we don't start strong, and we appear shaky at the beginning. But now that we started strong and we still lost the game by a big margin, that's when you got to ask, how then does the game management go? Because uh, that was a lineup intended to win the game. But as the results went the other way, there was what were the decisions that happened after that? I thought that there was no the team just didn't adapt. And I think there's quite a big part on Pioli. We were still doing the high line. They were still catching us on the counter. Players, after the third goal, we looked disinterested. But there was that sliver of hope that I thought when Diao scored that maybe that we could actually win it back. If you think about it, that we've gone behind before in the derby itself, the one that we won last year, we went behind, if I'm not mistaken. Sorry, the year before, we went behind. Then it was Diaz came on the pitch, then Giroud, yeah, Giroud until we won the game. I think 2-1. But yeah, it wasn't dominating in that sense that as last year when we beat them in that derby. Strangely, that CDK started. Uh, I don't know, guys. I don't know what is the missing piece and how we can actually beat this team. Because if you ask me, the Inter team on paper, maybe it's the worst Inter team in the past, like what, 10, 15 years. We should be able to beat them. There's no doubt about it. But just kept getting outthought by Inzaghi of all people.
I think what was really uncomfortable for me about this game, also as well, apologies everyone if you're wondering why I'm kind of talking a bit more quietly than usual. It's because I'm actually still in the office because my internet decided to break at home. So yeah, fun fact. But anyway, so what was really kind of distressing about this game was, did you notice that we kind of resorted back to long ball FC? It's like we tried our normal game. We realized that we can't impose ourselves physically on Inter. and then we just resorted back to just Route 1 football. The concern
Yeah,
about that, though, is that shows you that the players don't trust the manager,
yeah. I mean,
and there's no plan B.
you're asking for positive, Shane. Genuinely, I cannot remember a single one. I guess at the end of this match, everyone was talking about Inter potentially going the entire league season unbeaten. You know, hindsight is a wonderful thing. We now know a lot different. We can talk about it later on, but you know, Husney's right. Maybe this Inter team isn't this perfect machine. But at the time, Fratesi looked like a wonderful buy. Thuram looked like a perfect goal scoring machine. He had just come back from international duty, had scored there, and then came on, and he literally ripped us apart that game. But you've got to say, I think at the time we said we didn't have Tomori. There's a question of whether Tomori would really have changed the score at all. Um, but I think his speed would have helped. Leaving what do you call it? Leaving Kier on his own against Turam, against Lautaro, against Dumfries, it was just too much. It was just, but I don't blame Kier in all of this, guys. I don't blame Kier in all of this. I simply think that playing a high line, I think, yeah, playing a high line against a team like this was a big mistake with the players that we had, and we once again at the time we could see really the big hole in our midfield, whereby we had no we were asking our defenders to literally be on one-on-ones all the time against the Inter attackers, and the midfielders are not coming back to help out, and so again the CDM issue came up. But it was a real, you know, it was a real concern because to me it looked like the players were actually afraid. And my big takeaway from it was that Pioli's pre-game and post-game interviews were just unacceptable. I think that's really the big thing. To say we were in the game for the first 4 minutes. What are you doing? And then saying, you know, we went to 2-1, 2-1, we were in it. You're right, Husni. We went to 2-1. I was hoping we would kick on from there and start pressurizing them. But as you know, you said, Shane, a long ball over the top, cut us open, 3-1, and then the team collapsed. And I think, you know, that shook the team a lot. And we were saying after this game, the big concern is that this is going to affect the players' morale, because a 5-1 beating is not something you just wipe and you just reset. And I kind of suspect, as we talk about the later games, that this did have a knock-on effect on the later games, including on Pioli's mentality. And we'll talk about that with the Verona game, I think.
This is this is it. So I have a question for Husney. So I have a theory, guys, basically, right? So when Mkhitaryan came in and did what he did essentially last season to us as well, which is late runs into the box and then get a cheeky goal, I think that kind of just destroyed us mentally, right?
Yeah.
I think after that there was no coming back. Like, what are your main reasons, Husney, just behind the behind the capitulation? Because this is what it was. It was awful. And
I think,
is it more the players or the coach, or is it specifically the coach and the tactics?
well, you can't definitely pin it on players individually, but I think in terms of the preparedness, it obviously wasn't there. But what would have at least, I thought, tied the game would be whether the hunger or the grinta would be there. Because, yeah, as you said, John, they didn't look like they wanted to win it or take anything out of the game. It was like, okay, they're steamrolling us, and we just hang on until 90th plus minute, and we'll wait for the final whistle. It didn't need to be that way. So we've had instances where we've been able to fight back. Because we thought about it, yeah. I mean, that one goal that Liao scored, why wasn't that the turning point? At least to tie the game. Because anything could have happened there. Inter are not a great team. This is one of the things that I really don't agree with a lot of fans when they say that, oh, they out tactic and all this. They aren't a great team. They lost to Sassuolo just yesterday. I mean, this is their team. They have Acerbi, who is an absolute has-been, Thuram, who before that, he joined them, and a lot of fans were even doubting him when we were linked to him, saying that he hasn't really played at the big stage because he's from the French league. Lautaro could say that having a good game, but yeah, and the name that you mentioned, Mkhitaryan is also another has-been. It's a collection of has-beens that managed to put 5 goals past us. And who do we have even in between the sticks? I'm not blaming him, but Manyan was there. That was a strong lineup. What I don't get, especially, is that after all these derbies that we've lost, that there's no real organization to counter this Inter 3-5-2 because they played the same formation, yeah. But for us, we've changed it. We played the 4-2-3-1. We won one. We lost several. Now we are at the 4-3-3. It's not any better. You could argue that it's actually worse. So have we kept Tonali and stuck to 4-2-3-1? Would it be better? Only God knows at this point. But it's not working, guys. It's not working. This is the issue that I have.
Welcome, Gio and Fabio as well, actually. It's actually quite nice with people watching us. It's great. See, it's a bit more professional. This is why we were away for so long, guys. It was definitely not because real life caught up with us. It's because we were preparing this. I promise. Anyway. All right.
Right. So should we move on to the next game and talk about
this is
the Newcastle?
This is a bit better, to be honest, but not much.
Yeah.
It was better in the way that we didn't get tanked by 5 goals.
Yeah.
But anyway, all right. You guys want to take it away?
Yeah. So let's talk about the Newcastle game. We performed really well. We did everything right up until the final third, and I mean everything right. We had them at home. We took them to pieces, especially in the first half, and we really look like a strong Champions League team. We look like the team that made it to the semi-final last season. Unfortunately, in front of goal, you could have put anybody. You could have put me in front of goal. I'm left-footed. You could have put me on my right foot and still wouldn't have scored. It was just dreadful. And I know Leao got a lot of pain in the press the following days for his back heel attempt. And Pioli even said, I'm a defender. If it had been me, I would have just put my foot through it and slammed it into the goal instead of trying to do a trick. So even Pioli pointed that out. But then afterwards, Pioli kind of really went to his defense and said, "No, we're all a team. We win together, we lose together, we draw together." I thought the game against Newcastle was in every way. I would have taken a 1-0 3-pointer, and I have to be realistic here and say that to me, it is definitely a 2 points lost. This should have been our first, good start to the campaign. This is going to put pressure on us against Borussia away, in my opinion.
This is a good point. Now, the thing is I have to be honest, though. I'm not saying it about anyone here, including Gio and Fabio, right? But there was quite an awful lot of people calling for Pioli's head after this game. And I think it was a bit overreactionary, right? Because when I understand after the Inter game, because that was awful, terrible performance, and he really showed his ceiling. However, if we play this game like another 10 times, another 9 times, we're winning those 9 games. I mean, we completely dominated this team.
Yeah.
Like from start to finish, we dominated them. So I think it's a bit overreactionary that people were lumping this alongside, the Inter result because it was a completely different performance. We completely outclassed Newcastle in every phase of the pitch. Newcastle didn't get a look in,
Yeah.
So
can I add something? And I don't know whether this is superstitious or not because it was mentioned by the commentators during the game. We struggle, and even I know we beat Spurs by not a large scoreline, but as well as we play, we can't seem to dominate in terms of score-wise. Before, yes, if I remember the Manchester United games of old. But these Premier League teams, there's something about them, yeah? There's something about them that we can play as much as we play, but the result sometimes just eludes us. Yeah, and I can even take it back to, if you guys can remember that game against Liverpool. We were leading at one point, yeah? We were leading 2-1. You remember that with the Rebic goal and with the Diaz goal as well at Anfield itself. But then again, that result just slips through our fingers. So, do you think that playing Newcastle is maybe another one of those things against Premier League teams that it's just our fate that we can't seem to pull it off?
Oh wow.
Maybe you take this one, John, because you're there. And
Wow. I would, you know what? I was concerned against Newcastle. I thought Tomori would freeze up. That was my big worry about this. Is that I've seen Tomori play a few Champions League games against the English opposition, and he's not done very well. And I was concerned that Newcastle were going to outpower us, but it was a very pleasant surprise that we more than coped with it. Ruben Loftus-Cheek, we actually looked really, really good and solid. I just wish you could have put one away, guys. I really do, because I don't think there's any way Newcastle are going to score against us. And coming into the game, Husni, I had been watching Newcastle games to kind of keep an eye on their form. They were not in good form. So it was a very good time to meet them and take care of them. I think we could really have we should have taken the 3 points. That's my only downside to the game. I think we should take a lot of heart, and I think the players did. They took a lot of heart in the fact that we showed a team that finished in the top four in the Premier League. We really taught them a lesson. They definitely came back to the UK, and all the press here was indicating that Newcastle got very fortunate to take a 1 point, so everyone could see, and we really we showed this so-called Super League that we did deserve to be in the Champions League semi-final.
John,
Yeah.
John, what's the Newcastle coach's name again?
Oh Jesus.
Eddie Howe.
Eddie Howe.
Eddie
Yeah.
Howe, is it?
Yeah.
So Eddie Howe is the only person in the UK, I think, right now that doesn't realise how fortunate Newcastle were. Did you hear his statement after the game? He was like, "Oh, all we needed was a bit more luck," and I was like, "How much more do you need?"
But you've got
Like,
Portello
you,
did well. This is the other thing. This is where Manyan got injured, guys. Remember, Manyan got injured in this game.
Mm.
Portello came in, and he did have to make a big save at the end. There was a pile driver hit at him right at the end, and he made a great save. But Fabio smashing Newcastle. I hope Steve watches this, honestly, because this will be hilarious to hear his opinion on it. He's a big Newcastle fan. No, we should have won the game, guys. I don't like to say any other way. We should have won the game. I think we can beat them away. I really do, and I think based on that they are more likely to be the whipping boys of the group. Actually, now I've really stuck my neck out there, but I'm gonna say they're the whipping boys of the group. I'm gonna have to watch a bit more of Borussia Dortmund. I know that their defense is not great, but Newcastle really don't seem up to much. Yeah, happy with this game except for the scoreline. That's it. Do you want to say anything else about this game, or do you want to move on to the next one, Shane?
No. There's a question that I want to ask your opinion. You again, John, because you're there, so you probably see it and hear about it. So whenever we play a Premier League team, it seems that then sets like a comparison between our league and their league. So let's face it, yeah. So Newcastle, they didn't have a great start to the season, but yeah, keeping in mind that their opposition was a little tough. I think they played Man City already, and Man City are, could say, favorites to win the title, and you could say maybe even favorites to win the Champions League again. But where do you think that puts us as in the run for the Scudetto against Newcastle that probably just want to make top four, and how we just did well but couldn't win the game? I mean, is that some sort of a barometer to how Serie A is, or maybe how Italian teams will fare this season?
I think so. I thought about this for a while, Gio. Sorry, Gio. Husni, Gio's coming up on the comments here. That's why he's taking my mind away. Point they stole from us. I agree, Gio. They stole points from us. Husni, I've thought about this for a while, and the way to see it, in my opinion, is that styles make games, and it just happens to be that, for example, against Inter, our style, our setup, it just doesn't fit them, but we fit very well against Napoli, for example. And I think against Newcastle, we have a setup that simply doesn't allow them to play their game. It's as simple as that, and that's how I basically break it down. So, where does that put us in the league? That's the other question, Hasni. I think at the start of the season, I would have said possibly top four, top six. Now, looking at all the games that I've seen now, I've got to say that this season there's a massive opportunity, guys, and I'll be really gutted if we don't step through that door. I think there's a lot of weak teams out there, and teams that are in big transitions. I don't see anybody as doing what Napoli did last season. Maybe, up until last night, Inter Milan were seen as the team that might walk away with it because they had a 100% record. But even they showed, when you have to have rotation, when you lose players like Arnautovic for 2 months, everyone's going to be affected in this. So I think there could be a good chance for us to be. I'm going to be okay. I'm going to be bold again, and I'm not positive usually, but I'm going to say very minimum we have to be top two. That's what I think. What do you think, Shane?
No, top one. Top one. No, no. Seriously though, I think taking everything into context about we do have a good young core of players, right? Not finishing first this year, so finishing, second or third. I still think it should be the minimum that we go for. Obviously, I never want to see Inter win it, and I never want to see them get a second star ahead of us, right? No one does, right? Unless you're an Inter fan, right? So, I think I really don't want to see Inter win it, but at the end of the day, if we don't win the Serie A this year, knowing that we have, such a good, talented young group of players that can win it for the next 3 seasons in a row, I wouldn't be against it.
Yeah.
But I think moving on though from the Newcastle game, I was really. This is a really strange game for me. So obviously, us, getting rightfully demolished against Inter, drawing with Newcastle when we basically demolished Newcastle but couldn't put it into net. And next thing, we had this awful, 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 awful third jersey to look at, which is why I was actually trying to watch the game in black and white.
Oh,
That's how bad it is.
yeah, that was
But yeah,
insane.
so it was. I think it was kind of it was a weird game starting off, right? Because I wasn't sure how it actually got played. Because did you guys see the state of the pitch before the game?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. It was
It
touch and
was,
go, wasn't it? Yeah.
yeah. I was
It was.
like, I mean,
Was that the game where it was delayed? Right. It was delayed by
Yeah,
like
about
half
half an
an
it,
hour, I
hour
think. Yeah,
because
yeah.
of
it was delayed, yeah,
flooding,
and
basically. Yeah.
and I don't know how they could have improved the pitch that much because it's like half an hour and they were still like sweeping liters of water off of the grass, off of the turf, right? It's crazy. Oh, hey, and on as well. Hey, Paul KB. It's really good to see you guys. Um, but yeah, so I guess over to you, Husni. What did you think of the game?
Well, coming back from, I guess right after the Newcastle game, we definitely needed a win. I had wanted someone other than Liao. I mean, Liao definitely is a game winner, but I would really want to see his goals in games that, in the bigger games. I wanted in these such games that we'll have other players. And if I remember the Scudetto winning season, uh, we had very different goal scorers throughout that particular run. I wanted this to be, one of the other games where maybe someone else would score. Uh, Definitely not Adley because Pioli wouldn't start him for this game, but someone else at least. But keep it a clean sheet. 1-0 is enough to get the 3 points. Am I happy? Of course, I'm happy. But because we will definitely have these games, yeah, we'll have these games against weaker opposition, and maybe just coming back to last season, had this happened last season, maybe we wouldn't have had that goal. It might have ended 0-0 because we were just lacking the type of players to really bring something out of Liao or that particular moment of brilliance. But early goal, and yeah, you can see from the scoreline, especially from the 8th minute. I think this is the theme that we also have to take note now. Before we were really scoring goals, and we will see it in the next game. But we usually tend to be more high firing later towards the game. I don't know why. In the past seasons, we were actually the weaker team at the beginning. but we got the early goal, and that solid free goal is the one that gets us the 3 points. I'll take that. Yeah, I don't think anyone can deny that. Leao is invaluable, but expecting him to score these sort of goals against these teams, I think it's too risky. I saw it a lot during this game, and also in the game last night. These opposition, when they see Leao on the pitch, they'll try to body him. Try to get really physical, and God forbid he goes down with injury, because then we are short of, you could say, a silver bullet, if I can say that.
Would be slightly short, but Andan is a good point, I think, and this is a good question for you as well, Gorilla. So, if in these kind of games, so he's referring to the Milan Verona result, right? He's like, if this kind of game last season we would have ended 0-0 because our rotation players sucked. That's a really valid point.
Yeah, no, it's a great point. And I think this was the game where a lot of the fan base were expecting big rotation. I think a lot of us were expecting the starting lineup not to include Giroud, potentially not to include Leao. But then Pioli actually explained after the game that we lost Calabria and we lost Theo the night before the game, basically. And so he decided to put together this kind of emergency, what he called it, like an emergency lineup of a 3-4-3 to try and be as defensively solid as possible. And on that sense, I guess it worked. But one of the things that I saw a lot of was that this formation appeared to enable a lot of space over the top of the opposition defense. But Giroud was not the player to go and get that. It would have been for someone much faster like Okafor. So I think a lot of the fans are saying surprised that Krunic was starting, surprised that Giroud was starting. Husni was not surprised that Krunic was starting. But also
Shane was happy that Krunic was starting, and so was Gio as well, who's joined us. Hey, Gio.
Hey, Gio.
Hey, sorry, I can't put on my camera, but I just wanted to say that's where sometimes I think, Shane, that you think people are shitting on Pioli, but if you look at the last 15 minutes of the Newcastle game, Krunic was holding his groin, he was holding his knee, he was grimacing, and he played him. That's the criticism that I have on him. And like even the next game, putting on players that we didn't need. That's the criticism, that he's becoming a liability, because now, even though me and Husney don't like Krunic, but now our depth is down to shits because of the manager. That's where, like, sometimes when people try to fight me on the manager, he does a lot of dumb things. And to me, you saw the last 15 minutes, he gets injured, and now you don't even trust anybody too. But this game was horrible to watch. I almost fell asleep like 20 times because I don't know. I think he should have stuck with the formation and played the players. And I mean, but this was horrible watch. And then coming down with another injury, I mean, I don't know why we're always injured. We got a new medical staff too, so I don't know why we're always injured. Any reason? Husney, Shane, and John, why
Yeah,
we're always getting injured?
yeah, we always injured because that's how we are, and I think that's the heritage of the club. This is football heritage.
No.
But I don't think injury is necessarily a bad thing, because we had Kolulu shine through injury from, I remember Gabia went down. Remember that game? Gabia was actually our default
Yeah.
centre back. He went down, and Kolulu got his break. I think we can discover these players, unfortunately, through injury. Maybe, I don't know what will happen the next game, but I hope that Andy gets more game time. But once Pioli is forced to play these players, then maybe his eyes open. Yeah, I know it's a bit late because he's not exactly a new manager with this, but this could be the revelation that he's waiting for. He can't pick this guy because the guy can't even walk, so he's gonna have to go with someone that's so-called fit or ready to play. How about you guys?
Talking about Krunic, he's going to need another assessment in a few days. By the way, it's not guaranteed that he's out for just 4 to 6 weeks. Apparently, they said he's going to need another assessment. So this could be a longer term thing. For me, this takes us on to the Cagliari game, I suppose, where we saw proper rotation, and That I was so pleased to see it because I can't, actually, Gio, you mentioned why we're getting so many injuries. Well, I don't know how you can start with so many of the same players week in, week out when you've got so many competitions to go at. Shouldn't be doing that. You should be rotating to prevent injuries, and you should be making subs earlier to prevent injuries. So this is again on the fact that he has his favorite players and he's almost afraid of switching them out. And sometimes, as Husni says, the switch out is forced on you due to these injuries. Now, my concern now is I would like Giroud fit because I think Giroud can do a job, but I don't want him to just be bashed in and out all the time until he breaks down. His body has more than enough right to break down right now, to be honest with you. So I was glad with the Cagliari lineup. I thought it was a really interesting lineup. We returned to a formation that was familiar and would allow us to play a more attacking style of football. And seeing Pulisic on the left, I was thinking that's where the guy's comfortable. He's going to do something. I believe he got at least one assist. Am I right, guys? Did he get one assist, Pulisic?
One or two,
Who-
yeah. Even for the Loftus
Pulisic?
Cheek, it was his assist, I think.
Well, there you go.
And he's got like wait, what's he got so far? So in terms of goals and assists this season, because he's like,
He
hasn't he
scored at
scored
least
like
two.
2 goals?
He's doing. He's
Yeah.
got. If you look at his stats, he's doing the job really well, actually. So
Yeah, on
let's
both
give
wings,
him.
by the way. Yeah. So yesterday he played left wing,
Yeah.
2 assists, and he scored from the right wing.
Yeah, he's a huge. I mean, there's a huge amount of quality in that guy. I mean, he surprised me because I was kind of on the fence about it. You know, when he first came over
Yeah.
from Chelsea.
Yeah, me too. Me too. I'm one of the ones. I will admit it.
Yeah.
I'll put my hand up right now. I'll admit it. I'm one of the ones that said American owners, American player, shirt sales, good job. But actually, I've been proven wrong, and I'm more than happy to say that I'm very happy that Pulisic is doing a good job.
That's it. Oh, and I'm saying, yeah, so 2 goals and 1 assist, and this is a very, very relevant point as well. He's integral for at least 2
Yeah,
more goals.
yeah.
So if he, outside of providing the direct assist, it's been like, him being hungry and pressing that's actually led to the goals. So I mean,
Yeah.
great player. I mean, seriously,
Yeah.
surprising me.
So I was really pleased with. Guys, I'm going to say Adley starting was the big thing for me. It's what added a lot of excitement for me for this game. I've been so curious to see how this guy would be starting in that Krunic position. And on the first goal,
What do you call it? Current position. It's not his spot. That's
mate,
Benitez.
Husni, I'm talking like Pioli. It's called the Krunic position. All right, that's what it's known as.
We all want it to be the Krunic position.
But on that first Cagliari goal, you've got to say it. He was on the ball for a little bit too long, got it taken off him, and that pile driver of a shot that was I can't even pronounce the striker's name. What was the striker's name? Does anybody know? Gio, do you know?
Lavombo.
Okay. So
please tell Fabio in the chat that if Portello gets a hand to that, the wrist is gone.
Mate, that ball was hit so hard. That ball was hit like a pile driver. I would be, in fact, if Manyan had been in goal, I'd be scared for him. I'd be like, please don't touch that. Just let it go in. It was.
It's shots like that blinded Tata. Seriously.
Yeah, but that's one of those that you basically don't see until it's gone past you. It's hit so well, so well. So yeah, no, it was a great finish. I can't blame it on that. But I really, really liked our response, guys. That's more like it. That's kind of thing. I was like, let's get ourselves 2-1 up by half time. Really get ourselves up ahead, and it was a good game, well played. And Adley did a lot of things that I wanted to see, which was those long raking passes. They're so accurate, and he was involved in corners, corner taking, that corner routine, where I'm trying to think who finished it off. It was Reindeer that fired it in, and then Tomori, I think, finished it off. But the corner was taken by Adley. So no, I'm really impressed. I'm really impressed with Adley. I want to see more of him because I think he will grow into the role. And another thing that
I'm trolling. I'm trolling you guys a bit in the comments by saying, when you said Adley is done everything I wanted him to do, I also said giving the ball away for a
Stop
goal.
it. Stop it right now. Just stop it. No, come on, guys. He's going to grow into the role. He was taken off quite early before, I think, the 60th minute. I don't think he's probably going to be fully match fit. And that's because he's not been integrated into the squad properly. But I hope he gets more time as we move forward, because I think the guy is offers something very, very different to the squad. And I think he could be very important for the future. I don't know what you feel about that, Husni. His performance.
Yeah, I agree, and yeah, there's also a question towards the end of it. Is that my opinion is in yesterday's game, the the engine or the start of the goals were originated from our midfield, and that's something that last season I didn't see enough of. So yes, last season we've had some goals from midfield, but in this case is that it wasn't one of those, pass the ball to like Liao to one of our wingers and they'll do everything. So we had a lot of that long balls, and our midfield or our, that double pivot that we had going, they were just there to, hold the fort whenever we were pushing forward. So it's a welcome refresh, and I think that okay, I may hit myself for saying this later. You got to give some credit to Pioli in getting that 4-3-3
Oh,
up.
you said the thing. Credit to
Yeah,
Pioli.
I still want him up, by the way. I'm not saying anything that's right. So, but
What's
credit to him
happened
is
with
that
the real
he's
Husney?
got the
Let's bring him back.
League
that
of
guy.
Palace now.
He's turned into a heart collector. So I can't say much about
Hey.
it. So,
Inside
uh,
joke. We can't
yeah,
reveal the content of that joke because legal problems.
indeed. But yeah, our three-man midfield, it's really working, and I do have to point it out there. Our midfielders that we've bought, even the ones that we had, even Tonali, by the way, he started off in a three-man midfield system. So trying to get these guys into a double pivot was a challenge. Once they settled in, got to get them back into a three-man midfield. I think it should be a better fit for most of our players, because I honestly can't really think of how many teams that we bought players from that actually play the double pivot, and I think that was a big challenge. Even in the case of CDK, by the way, yeah, when he was in club, how you pronounce it, Bruges or Brugge,
Hmm.
he was in a camp, by the way. Yeah, he was actually a second striker or one of the strikers up front. So yeah,
Center forward.
I think center forward. So trying to force these players from other teams to adapt into our system and expecting the world from them, which purely I think, okay, fine, I'll give that negative mark to Pioli now that he definitely can't force these easy transitions from other teams onto these young players. In this case, it's much easier just to do 4-3-3. Yeah, so they know how it plays, they know what to do, and there's a lot more flexibility. For example, like Ruben Loftus-Cheek, he seems so natural in that role. Yeah, he knows when to push forward, he knows when to apply pressure. It doesn't have to be that okay, just because it's double pivot that he can't go into the final third. There's none of that. Yeah, so the flexibility I can see is there, and it benefits also players like Rangers. And I want to ask you, yeah, do you think that our this three-man midfield is much stronger than anyone could have anticipated?
Yeah, I think it is. And you know what I liked about it is that, they have cohesion. They're gonna learn more about each other, but they basically hit the ground running. And it's crazy because if you look at all the top teams that are going for the Scudetto, their midfielders have been there for a while. I mean, besides Benacer, we know that he's injured. I mean, all of them are basically new. Yeah, Adley was on the team, but he's never played, so that what I see is like that they hit the ground running, and that's what I like. I think this midfield is gonna be good because they have a lot of energy. Like Loftus Cheek has energy, and then Tajani, man, I don't know how Brighton didn't get this guy, or like a team that or Benfica didn't get this guy, but that's like a gem, and we only paid like 18 million for him. He's going all the way to the top. He's got the work rate, and you see, like I don't know who crossed him the ball. Florenzi crossed on the ball, and that ball was so bad. It reminded me like a Salamaker cross ball that goes straight into Tribuna, but he puts his leg out there. He stops the ball. That's like technical ability out of none. And then he pushed it back into the thing, and then we didn't score from it. But you just see what type of technical ability. I think our midfield is gonna go. and my break is done. And keep up the good work, guys. I like your podcast. And John,
Yeah,
no more
yes.
UA talk.
Ah, I'm not saying Forza. No, Forza Milan. Good one, Gio. Thank you, guys. Um, yeah, one thing I'd like to say though, guys, and I want to point this out. Tell me if I'm wrong. Were we not 3-1 up when Leao was brought on? Am I
Yeah,
correct in saying that? I remember
yeah, that's
correctly,
correct.
right? Now,
Yeah.
what do you think about that? Because I hugely disagreed with that move. Because my concern is we don't need Leao when we're 3-1 up and we're literally just controlling Cagliari at will. So, what do you think? If it was 2-1, I can maybe understand it. But if we were 3-1 up, why on earth would we try and risk Leao? And he did get a strong hit at one point. So I wanted to know your opinion on that because that's the one black mark against Pioli that I have on that game. He did everything else to me exactly as I wanted. Good rotation, good subs, for those other subs. But then this one didn't make any sense to me. What do you think of that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Right.
all right. Okay. Yeah. So it did. It made sense in the way that. So the only way it makes sense is you never want to risk a player, right? But you also need the player to stay match fit and alert, right? And ready for the next game. So it makes sense to be inserting him into a game where he probably won't have to do anything, right? In that way, it does make sense, right? Because I mean, Pioli does know that he'll call upon him, right? And he's going to be playing against Lazio, so it does make sense for him to, keep match fit and to keep him ready and alert. But also, yes, there's always that danger that he brings him on for a game that he's not really going to be doing much in, and he gets like injured, and that's a risk. But I can understand it. But as to, I mean, the game was over at that point. One thing I would like to say about this game though is it did show a lot of character. And to echo what Gio said earlier as well about the midfielders pushing up and creating an awful lot of our chances in this game, that was a huge. I mean, compare this again to last season, where you had Tonali, who's um, overplayed, Benacer, who was overplayed. They were very often just too fatigued to get into the box. We were trying to lay it off to, Leao, and if we can get it to Leao, we'd have to get it to like Messias or Salamakers, and it just failed more often than it worked, right? But now, like we had Rangers running into the box, we had RLC running into the box. Um, you know, Adley was very effective. I liked Adley. I like the way he plays. The concern I have with Adley, though, is that he is far more flashier than Krunic, and he's more exciting to watch. However, the problem is because he's far more flashier, I think he's a higher potential to give the ball away because he does try so much creative passes, right? And if those passes don't come off, I think Pioli's looking at it and he's kind of going, well, he could also lead to us giving away possession a bit more, right? So I think I can understand Pioli from that perspective. But just from a pure football fan, I really want to see Adley more. But I think he has to be used in the correct games. Like we can't be using the likes of Adley in a game where, we're playing against like two or three, like big physical midfielders. That's not the type of game for him. But as he's easing in against these really lower table oppositions that he can split open with a pass and he's not going to have to deal with as much of a concern on the counter attack. I think those games are built for him and he should be used and deployed a bit more. But yeah, and I'm not throwing shade at him either over the giving the ball away. I mean, if what's this is his second competitive game in over 2 years.
Something like that. Yeah.
So I mean, like I can't really blame a guy who's a bit rusty, and I think as he gets more game time, he'll play well. But overall, this result was great for me. Really enjoyed it. Um, yeah, and to echo as well, I think what Adnan said in the chat, there's something I think I don't know. I'm a bit concerned about Chukwueze at this point. I expected a bit more. I didn't expect a complete player or a ready-made player, but he seems very ineffectual when he comes on, and it's getting a bit concerning because this way, this is kind of how CDK started out, and then the pressure started getting to him, and then we had a broken player at the end of the season. So really hope Chukwueze kind of gets his skates on and not even necessarily score a goal, but even just look a bit more of a threat. Like it's like he hasn't decided if he's like an inverted winger or if he's a winger. Like, is he going to cut in or is he just going to run to the byline and pass it? He doesn't know, and it's a bit concerning.
I thought Shane
Because
that
Pioli has had.
I thought he started the game well, Shane. I thought he gave it a go. He was running at players right at the beginning of the game. He just kind of faded. Um, but I know what you mean. He came with a big reputation, making the mistake of watching his highlights. He looked like he was Leao on the right wing base. He looked absolutely electric, and haven't yet seen that from him. But he did have a go at the Cagliari defenders at the beginning, and I was thinking, oh, this is quite nice. We've got no Leao on the pitch, and yet we're still attacking them on both wings. Um, but I do think he faded as the game went on. That's how I saw it. I think that's why I think Romero was brought on late on. Um, that's another player, Shane, that and Husni that needs to be blooded properly. He needs to be brought on properly and
There's no way he should be sent out on loan.
no, I don't
I
think
think
so.
he's enough quality to be getting a game here or there. I don't agree with sending him out on loan. He's too high quality
Yeah.
for me to be,
No, we need that depth with all the competitions we're in. We need that depth anyway. Don't send him out. Yeah.
Yeah, about Romero, and also if you talk about the Pobega, who I don't know what you consider the second or third string players. I just wanted to ask what you guys thought, and maybe this is the lead up into the next game, which is against Lazio. When will we see more of these players? Because uh, Romero, my concern, I saw it a bit yesterday. He didn't seem that confident. And when you are a young player and you're thrust on the big stage, even though you had the lead, quite a comfortable lead, no one wants to make a mistake and really get slated for it. But where do you think are these opportunities for these players? Because Romero, I agree, yeah, he's a kid with potential, and the only way to realize it is that he gets game time. Pobega, he's not a new player. He's been in the system for a while. He's played for other teams, and he's been with us, primarily for 2 seasons. Uh, do you think that we should continue to keep these players on the bench, or there will be that game where they actually start? What are your thoughts? Maybe Shane, I'll let you take this one.
I think we should ship him off to our B team, Manza. No, no, seriously. It depends on, like, it's kind of like case by case, right? It's case by case. I think the more I think about it, though, what's really interesting about your question is what we should do with our second string players, right? Essentially, like, our players that are not going to see much game time, right? But the more I think about it, the more I kind of realize it's the players that I class as kind of not really ready yet or second string are the likes of Pobega, the likes of Gabia, who's obviously on loan this season.
Pellegrino. We have some players that
Pellegrino.
we have a number of players that we've barely seen.
But here's an interesting thing. I also see Calabria as that. I see him on a similar level.
Okay.
So I mean, in relation to your question, though, I like case by case, man, case by case. I mean, it's two schools of thought, right? Because there's either we send them off on loan and they get the experience and they come back balling, which hopefully CDK does next year. But then there's also, it's kind of then we don't have access to their quality, right? So if you look at Romero, essentially, I'd be a bit concerned that if we did loan him out, let's say Chukwueze gets injured, or let's say Pulisic gets injured, and then it's like, oh crap, we're stuck for depth now on the right wing again. So I mean, I'm just so
You forget Shane. Krunic has played right wing in Champions League for us. Come on.
Prunic can play any position on the field, my friend. You know this. Hey Nico, how's it going? Sorry, no, but true. But I just it really has to depend. Like, but who I'm interested to see, and I think it'll come through. He'll be playing a bit more often now, which is really good for me. I like to see him as Bartazagi. I mean, he's been a nice surprise for me so far, considering what he is and the age of the player. He hasn't done anything horrifically wrong that's told me that he shouldn't be called upon more. You know, I would really like to see someone like Eletu from the Primavera being brought up
I honestly
for
thought
the
Chaka
midfield.
Traore would be in first team. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's another thing because I Krunic can't even play as keeper. What, Nico? Slander, my friend, slander. But yeah, I don't know. What do you think, Husni? Like, what would you like to do with? Okay, let's say three players, right? So if we say Romero, Pellegrino, and well, Pobega, right? What would you do? Do you loan? Do you sell? Or do you keep?
I think they should all be given the chance. Yeah, their fair chance. And I don't mean just a fair chance, but they should be given their fair chance in appropriate matches. I think I mentioned this to you guys maybe a few weeks or months back. Is that these players, these second string players, they should be training day in, day out to play against certain teams. So there's some teams that actually occupy the bottom of the table, yeah, that you know that they're probably going to be bottom 5 or bottom 10. Cagliari is actually one of those teams based on their form. Why can't we do a full rotation against these teams to give these kids a break? This is what I don't understand. But again, it's up to purely. I mean, John, I mean, do you agree is that there are games that you should trust players fully? Yeah, you shouldn't. You said it. Right? We didn't need Liao for those games. So why is it that we are forcing players? And no player is going to say no. Yeah, let's be real. No player of any quality is going to say no. I don't want to play against these teams. But what do you think is the decision making behind that?
I think it's so we need to keep the players because we're going to need rotation. I think there's comments on here on the chat which are absolutely correct. We've got three competitions to go after: Champions League, Coppa d'Italia, and Serie A. There's enough opposition in there to rotate these players. The problem is, the problem honestly is that we won't rotate players. And it's my belief is that we will only rotate players when it's an emergency or when someone gets injured. I don't think people will be brought in and um, brought into the team properly. That's the main problem I have, Husni. I'd have no issue whatsoever with keeping Romero and him coming off to 60 minutes when we're winning a game, comfortably, so that he can get that 30 minutes under his belt. But that will not happen. It's just simply not going to happen. Bartesaghi, he's starting to make a impact, which is really good to see. But I do think that we're going to be, unfortunately, not rotating them as well as we should, because historically we know that Pioli doesn't do that. He waits until injuries build up, and then players come in and they're not being prepared appropriately. That's my main concern here. I think, with appropriate rotation, all of those players will get game time. We've got enough competitions to do it. The problem I have as well is that in the Champions League, there are no matches in our group that give us any kind of a break. There's no teams on there that we can literally say, oh, let's play a second string team. And we now don't have the 3 points from the first game, so we're not going to build a cushion. It looks like we're going to have to be.
I I'll say something a bit
Go on,
controversial here,
go on.
right? Feel free to at me. I think we will destroy Dortmund.
Hey, let's do it. Why not? Why not? But I have not seen enough of
Yeah,
them.
because they can't defend.
Uh,
They can't defend. Going forward, they're very good, but like they can't defend at all. It's kind of like us, but I think overall in quality we're better. So I think we'll do really well against that team.
so you
I'd be surprised if it's not 6 points over two
you
legs.
know I'm betting on Dortmund now that you said that, yeah.
Mm. Yeah, here we go. It's probably going to be like 5-1
Oh no, no, no,
Dortmund.
no, 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 no. So, talking about
Mm,
Lazio, who do you want to see starting for us against Lazio? Because in my mind, the way I was seeing it is that Lazio are low in the league. They've not had a good start of the season, but we know that they're capable of doing damage. Yeah, we know that they've got a
mm.
talented midfield, and they've got that guy Immobile who seems to be a beast at club football. So who would you start? For me, honestly, I would. Adley is a given for me, but I would say Tomori, Chow, Theo, and Calabria, and then in midfield I'd have Ruben Loftus-Cheek, I'd have Reindeers and Adley, and then on the wings I'd have Leao, and I would have actually on the right wing I'd have Pulisic, and up front I would start with Giroud. What do you think of that squad for the Lazio game? Because I think we cannot take Lazio lightly, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with that. The thing is that we have Lazio, then we have Dortmund. So I think we need the strongest lineup against Dortmund because we need the 3 points. And as much as I want to get the second star, I guess we have to give quite a bit of weightage towards the Champions League run against Lazio. And everyone knows, yeah, Lazio haven't had the best of starts of the season, but they're a team that you could say can have that stretch that takes them into the top four, and they actually finished above us last season. So uh, they can have this bad run and still do well. So even against Lazio, we still need that strong towards good to strong lineup. I agree with Adley, having Adley there, but yeah, we're probably gonna have to have Leao. But then the question is that the strong lineup, usually the typical strong lineup is Pulisic, Leao, Giroud up there. Can they do the whole 90 against Lazio? And can they then, 4 days later, do the same 90 against Dortmund? That's the question I'm not so sure about. I mean, Shane, do you agree that we're probably going to need our strongest lineup against two of these teams?
So Lazio, funny enough, I don't. So I think we're obviously going to need, yeah. So we're going to need Theo, for sure. I mean, Nico is quite a good lineup there, and I actually agree with it for the most part. And I'll tell you why. I don't think Giroud should be playing. I don't think there's a need to. There's no need to potentially get him injured for a big game coming up after it. And it's not to say Lazio aren't tough opposition, but I think where Lazio will have a lot of problems is with the physicality of our midfield and with us basically just driving forward, right? So you can just have Okafor sweeping up balls just like he did against Cagliari and getting the same effect. You don't need Giroud to be doing this. Um, Can we trade an injured Rede for a snack box?
Bang.
How many million snack boxes do you want, Shawnee?
Uh, uh,
No, but seriously, I think Okafor is good. I think Chucky maybe, yeah, Chucky, yeah. Well, no, I'd play Leao to be honest. I'd so if it's Chucky and Pulisic, I'd probably go Leao and I'd probably go Chucky because I think we still do need Leao in these big-ish kind of games, right? Because Lazio aren't bad opposition. So yeah, but for me, it doesn't make sense to have Drew playing.
okay.
And the good news is it never makes sense to have Calabria play. So even back when he's fit and not injured and not suspended or whatever, it just never makes sense to have him play. So just put on Florenzi all the
I
time.
think Pioli will always pick Calabria if he's fit in the current squad. You know that. On the right wing, he'll always do that. The other thing is, apparently Magnan he could have played against Cagliari, but thankfully Pioli decided to give him a bit more of a rest. So I suspect that that's our number one keeper. The moment he is fully fit, he comes back. Sportiello has done absolutely fine, and I've got to say, great acquisition this summer. Makes me feel a lot safer when Mannion, has to take a bit of time off. It's actually a really, really good sub. So I'm impressed with that one. Um, I don't have a problem with Giroud starting or not. The problem I have is I want to win the game against Lazio because my personal priority is Serie A. It isn't Champions League. So I just want to make sure that we take care of them. And I know that Lazio can be extremely dangerous, and you catch them on the wrong time, they can take you to the cleaners. But yeah, they haven't had a good start of the season. Both Roman clubs have had really bad starts of the seasons, but they've got a decent manager. They play decent football. They could do some damage to us, so we've got to be respectful and play a very strong side, in my opinion. It's not a game to take too many subs. Yeah, so should we guess score lines, Shane and Husni? What would you guess?
I'm going for 2-0.
All right.
Scorers. I'm going to put it down for Liao and Pulisic.
Okay, Leao and Pulisic, fair enough. Shane?
I'm going to go. I think he's going to play Okafor. Right? And okay, so I think Okafor is going to get a goal. How to not be boring and pick Leao, because I know it's a really easy choice because he always scores goals. I'm going to go for Rangers. I know for like the last three or four games I've been saying Rangers because I really want him to score, but I think now is the game. I think he has to do it. So let's see. So I think 3-2, right? Because we'll get too complacent, but I think we'll win it. So it'll be Okafor, Leao, Rangers. Send it.
Nice.
How about you, John?
I reckon I'm going to be bold here. I think we win this 3-1. And I think Ruben Loftus-Cheek will score again because I think he will start, and he's got the game to be scoring more goals. I think, yeah, Nico, you're right. Rangers is due a goal. He's put enough good shots on. He just needs to put one properly on target in the corner, and he'll get it in. And the third goal, you know what? Adley, guys, Adley. Sign his name in the stars. That's going to be MVP for the game. There you go. And that's.
Can someone clip this, please?
No, as soon as Pioli heard you say that, he's not going to start him.
Yeah, I'll tell you.
He'll
I'll tell you, if he
again.
starts Pobega in his position or Musa, I will go mental, guys. I will go mental. This is a really good opportunity to play, a good playmaker against another midfield that passes the ball well. So we have to see Adley. All right.
Okay, well,
Right,
yeah. I think we're at the hour mark. We've covered quite a number of games as well as the upcoming game. Yeah, I'd like to say thanks to everyone for joining in the chat. It's been quite refreshing for us hosts because we've actually moved. I don't know if you guys know this, but we've actually moved to a web-based.
We have working streaming software.
So we've kept up with the times, and yeah, we're very happy with how things are, ensuring all the chats and the participation. So yeah, all I can say is that keep up the support, and we value everyone's comments, and yeah, we're looking to having more streams, more timely streams, so we cover maybe fewer games that go into a little bit more depth. But yeah, as soon as we have time, we'll get everyone together. And if anyone wants to join us, just drop us a message on all our socials. This particular stream is also going on Twitter, in addition to YouTube. We're also looking to, once we get the engagement numbers up on TikTok and Instagram, so that we can have more of you guys taking part and joining us. So yeah, guys, anything else that you'd like to? Yeah. But yeah, if we were on OnlyFans, I think
that's it.
We'll have too much of a budget to go through.
That's it. Go on.
All right, guys. Thank you very much today. Awesome new stream, I'd say. Husni, great find. Husni's the guy that found it. It's a really, really nice, streaming platform. I hope you guys enjoyed it. We'll be doing these more often, we hope, right? And more timely. And let's go smash Lazio, guys. Let's do it. Forza Milan.
Forza Milan. See everyone. Bye. Italia!